So for men in their 40s and 50s, if they hear the fact that the Titanic is actually sinking, what does a successful man who's got this roadmap in front of him but sees that it's going to be disrupted in the next 5 years, what should he do?
I think the first thing is to see it as a wave that can be surfed, and that if you've got an attitude of curiosity and enthusiasm and openness to change, then you're probably going to notice stuff that you naturally can move towards. Clinging on to this is the way it used to be and this is how it's meant to be done is probably not the answer. If you think about AI's two major superpowers, superpower number one is to get people to overconsume. So it's really good at getting you to listen to more Spotify than you intended to, and getting you to buy more stuff on Amazon, and getting you to watch more TikToks than you thought you'd watch. So it's great at that. It figures you out real fast and works out what you like and gives you more of it. And then it figures out when you're bored and gives you something else. So it's very, very good at that. The second superpower it has is the superpower to get you to create way more than you thought you could create in record time. So the ability to, like, let's say you're a lawyer, kind of drafts the first draft of a contract and then lets you do that. You can drop a contract into ChatGPT and ask it, what are some of the loopholes? What are some of the things that are wrong with it? What could I do to improve this? Summarize this in simple English. If you get copied in on a massive long email chain, you can just copy that whole email chain into ChatGPT and say, summarize this, and it'll just give you like the top line briefing of what that whole email chain is about as a good starting point, which means that you're digesting the whole thing a lot faster. The other day, I was running a workshop and everyone had submitted questions and all of that. It was a big spreadsheet. I just copied the whole spreadsheet, threw it into ChatGPT and said, give me the 5 top themes of all the questions. And it just goes, boom, here's the top 5 things everyone's interested in, and it summarized them all perfectly.
But if you actually felt in yourself, you know what, that's what I trained as. This is what I've been good at for 25, 30 years. I'm sitting on all of this value, but I don't know what to do with it. And I want to do something different. It's just like, what were the sort of first steps?
Well, the value has shifted from content to context. So content is knowing how to draft contracts or knowing how to put together agreements or what should be in there and all of that stuff. Content is like writing emails and all of the backwards and forwarding and all that sort of stuff. Context is understanding why it's valuable in the first place, why it's important, what should we be doing, why do we do stuff the way we do it. So you've got to begin by saying, my content has become less valuable, but my context is quite valuable. So, like, for example, you might, because AI doesn't have any context. It just does whatever you ask it to do. And 1 minute you could ask it to draft a contract and the next minute you could ask it to write a song. It doesn't care. It'll just give you whatever you ask of it. So the humans have to have the context. We have to have a bigger vision or a bigger picture. And we have to say, hey, just doing stuff isn't the valuable bit anymore, especially if that stuff can be done on a computer. Pretty much anything that happens on a computer is now going to be done by AI in some form, or it'll be massively supported by AI, so a lot less people will be required. So it's like some people say, oh, well, AI can't just do it all. And it's like, okay, but it can make one human 5 times more effective. So we just need 1, not 5. So it's still, the argument still stands. It's kind of like lift operators, at a certain time in the elevator. At one point, there was a lift operator. That was a job. And then we discovered that we can just push buttons ourselves and we just don't need many lift operators. There's still one in Claridge's, right? So it's not like every lift operator lost their job, but most lift operators lost their job. So yeah, essentially what we want to do is we want to start thinking about context rather than content. So what do you know about? What are the dots you know how to join? If you zoom up out of your job and think bigger picture, that's where the value's going to go. It's important not to knee-jerk, do a big knee-jerk reaction, throw the toys totally out the pram, especially if you've got, like you said, mortgages and, obligations. The reality is that when you're a parent and when you've got debt and all of that sort of stuff, you got to make a few careful decisions. So it might require several months of study time and just sort of coming up with 10 ideas and talking those through with mentors, talking them through with people who have made a successful transition with their career. I really think that it's important to consider that you're probably standing on a mountain of value, but when you're so close to something, you can't see it. It's very hard to see the mountain that you're on. You can see a mountain from a distance, but if you have to describe the mountain you're currently standing on, you lack perspective. So you've got to almost have conversations with someone who's got a little bit of distance and who can have an honest chat with you about what value you might have in this new realm.